Let's talk about the kid that got fired because he stole fruit cups from his workplace. If you haven't heard the story, it's been making the rounds. It's been all over the internet. There are thousands of people talking about it, hating the grocery store chain called Meijer. I don't know how to say it. But this is just a listening video. There's nothing important going on screen. So if the whatever video game I have in the background is not of interest to you, just let this, bake in the background while you listen. So for those not in the know, the story goes that there was a special needs kid, and by kid I mean 16-year-old, who worked in the deli department of a major grocery chain called Meijer, M-E-I-J-E-R. And so apparently this kid, over the course of 2 months, has stolen $110 worth of fruit cups. And not only was he fired for it, but he was also arrested, and there's body cam footage. The stories are all over Reddit and Twitter and anywhere you get your news. And on all of these threads, all of these posts that I see, it's just thousands of comments supporting the kid and hating on the grocery store and hating the manager for some reason. And I'm going to talk about this video. I'm going to talk about it from the perspective of someone who worked retail for 13 years, because I don't know if it's because I drank the corporate Kool-Aid. Now, I didn't work for this company or this chain of grocery stores or anything like that. I'm not some sort of insider standing up for some, faceless entity or corporation. Hell no. But I am going to tell you the reason why all of this happened and why these Karens and these concerned trolls on these threads have it wrong, and why they shouldn't feel as bad for the kid as they do, and that they're trying to boycott the store and cancel the manager and stuff. It's like, you can't be doing that. I mean, I guess you can do whatever you want, but essentially I'm going to tell you why it's not a good idea, why all of this is justified. Yes, I am on the side of the law here, of the store. All right, so let's start off with the person. The person, I'm not going to say his name or anything, but he's 16 years old. He walks to work, which means he usually lives probably 1 to 2 miles away. I don't know how far away he lives or if he has a car or how long he has to walk, but it is not a physical disability. He is special needs, more of the mental case, because if he's able to walk to work, and I'm going to tell you right now, they have him working in the deli department. The deli department is not a place that you want to put an employee who is too off the bandwagon mentally and who is incapable physically. So obviously this kid probably got like a mild case of, if I had to guess, maybe autism, Asperger's, something manageable, something that's pretty normal, something in this day and age at least, something that people can handle. So he probably gets some neat bucks, but he also probably has to work per his agreement. There was plenty of people that I worked with in retail that were special needs. They did all right. And those that didn't, well, they got the boot. But essentially, the way it works is some of these special needs guys, they have to work a certain amount of hours to get their government neat bucks. It is what it is. But essentially, he is a capable person who can talk and think, and he knows the difference between right and wrong. And I'll get into that in a bit. But essentially, this kid, was stealing fruit cups. Now, you're going to say, or if you've read into these stories, these fruit cups were out of date and they were to be thrown away. And I'm going to address this issue first because it's the biggest one that I see everyone bring up in all of these threads and all of these news posts. They were like, well, they were going to throw the fruit cups out. Just let him have the fruit cups. Let him buy the fruit cups. Let him pay for the fruit cups. And here's the thing, all right? So first and foremost, it is the grocery store's job, the company's job, to get rid of trash, or try to sell the, not quite out of date, but essentially when something is close to being out of date, you mark it down. This is when you take a special little price gun. It's called an RF handheld, I believe, in most circles, in most retail circles, or some other device, and you mark the product down because it's very close to being out of date. Now, you have to be careful when you do this because customers will learn when things are about to go out of date and they will not buy it at full price, and then they will get a habit of coming in on the certain day of the month or the week or whatever the product may be and buying it as soon as it's marked down. But also at the same time, you have to realize that in these corporate grocery chains, that people, the word gets around, someone is like, hey, I'm marking down, packages of cheese, it's only $1, come on in, and they tell all their friends, and it goes on social media and so on and so forth. And so most corporate stores have to be a little bit random when they mark things down, but the truth be told, the absolute truth be told, Fruit cups are a very low margin item, low purchase item. It's not very important if they sell or not. It's essentially a low cost item, marked up at a ridiculous value. So it's nice when it sells. When it doesn't, it's not that big of a loss. So it's really like last priority to be marked down. But also, most grocery stores simply don't have the man hours, the employees, or anything to have time to mark things down. So what happens is by the time you get around to it, oops, it's already out of date, time to throw it out. And so the process of throwing out of date food isn't you just throw it in a trash can. There's a special dumpster in the back of grocery stores or on the side or wherever where food is to be disposed of, and it legally has to be disposed of. You are not legally allowed to just give it to your employees like, oh, this is out of date. Here you go. It's still good. Just dust it off a little bit. I wish that was the world we lived in. But also, here's the other thing, the corporate thing. Imagine 2,000 stores, each with at least 200 employees. If the employees get free food every time something goes out of date, well, guess what happens? Employees start letting more things go out of date than they should. This is tried and true. This is just humans being humans. This isn't, oh, yeah, in a perfect world this would happen, but it's just how it is. Why would you buy a $20 steak when you could wait a day and, oops, I forgot to stock it on the shelf, Mr. Boss Man, and then, hey, and now I have to mark this down, and hey, I need dinner tonight, so I'm going to buy this for $5 instead of 20. And so what happens is that your employees or friends of employees, family of employees, will simply take a massive advantage of this. If I could work somewhere and anytime there was free food to be had just because the sell-by date, showed that it could no longer be sold, I would never have to buy groceries ever again. I would never have to buy food ever again. And then working at a grocery store would suddenly be worth way more money than it currently pays. But what I'm trying to get at is that if you don't have rules in place and you don't have structure in place when you have rules and structure, if there is no punishment, then there is no point to having the rule. So what this means is that if you let your employees just freeload off of everything that expires, then more things would expire than not. And this would cost the company over the course of years, over the course of thousands of stores, over the course of thousands of employees, millions upon billions of dollars. And so it cannot be done. If one person allows it, everyone has to allow it. If 10 people are allowed to do it, then everyone has to do it, and you can't punish it. And a lot of these grocery stores, I don't know about Meijer, well, they might be unionized. And the way unions work in retail grocery stores is it's a kind of a fairness thing. Either every single person gets punished, no exceptions, no, oh, he's a good boy, we'll look away this time, but don't do it again. All right. So essentially what I'm telling you is that if there is no punishment for taking out-of-date items and eating them, aka stealing, or even buying them rather, then everyone would do it. Not everyone, but enough people would do it so that the bottom line hurts, and then suddenly, now you have no cashiers in your store, and it's all self-checkout. Oops! So the second point I want to get at now is that everyone wants to vilify the manager. Oh, the manager is a total piece of crap. The manager is a horrible person. The manager blah, blah, blah. So let's dispel this one now. So first and foremost, the manager is essentially following, even if they don't want to do it, they have to do it, because if they don't do it, then they are on the chopping block, okay? And these managers, most managers in grocery stores, it's their entire life's calling. They don't have like a side job. It's not something that they're just doing temporarily. They're locked in for life. They've been there 20, 30, 40 years. They've drank the Kool-Aid. They have done everything there is to do. This is their life now. And so if it's a 16-year-old autistic special needs kid that's only been working there maybe less than a year, stealing, who knows what else he's going to do. Yeah, they could risk it. They could risk their entire livelihoods to look the other way. But here's the thing with the grocery stores. It's like a high school. It's like a drama club. It's like a group of gossipers, okay? So once one person knows, then give it a few days, everyone will know. And then if the manager isn't doing something about it, then what happens to the manager? They get replaced, they get fired, they get reprimanded, and the employee still gets fired anyway. You're just delaying the inevitable. But at the same time, it's like a sinking ship, and if the manager says or does nothing, then they go down with it. But here's the real facto de mondo thing. The manager may or may not have been the person to find this out and, turn them in. What most likely happens, and what mostly happens at retail stores, is loss prevention. Loss prevention, I know a lot of people, they think that it's just some dude in a t-shirt undercover that hangs around the store the entire day or sits in an office looking at security cameras, and that is and isn't the case. The way it works is most grocery stores have what's called a district and a division. A district of grocery stores would be like 12 stores, and a division would be those 12 stores. So, a division would be like a section of the United States, really. So it would be like hundreds of stores. My bad. It's been 8 years since I've done this, okay? So anyway, in a store, like let's say this store is District 12. District 12 has 20 stores. What happens is you have about 4 to 5 loss prevention guys, give or take, depending on the company, and they will visit stores every once in a while, and they have things that they have to do. They have to go to a store, and they have to look up all the logs and check out weird fishy things in the transactions. Make sure employees aren't refunding themselves or stealing coupons, the usual stuff. But most of the time, there are people, like I said, it's like a high school. Maybe this special needs kid had some haters. He had some enemies. He had some people that didn't like him very much, either because a lot of times it's either they're left-winged or right-winged. They are pro or against multiple genders. Maybe they say something edgy, or they played a video game together and they weren't really good at tanking in World of Warcraft, and so everyone hates them at the store now. I don't know what it is, but most likely this kid, the special needs kid, had a few haters, and these haters found out that he was stealing, so they anonymously tipped off the loss prevention guy, or the loss prevention guy was just looking at the cameras, and guess what? That dumpster in the back of the store where everything gets trashed has a camera. All right, now I can't speak for this store or company, but every freaking store does. Anyway, so what happens is the loss prevention guy has no stakes, or, he's a good boy, so he goes to the manager and lets the manager know. At this point, the manager is in the hot seat. The manager cannot tell the loss prevention guy, no, I don't want to fire him, because he doesn't have a yes or a no choice. The choice is, he did this thing, he gets fired. And I could speak to that personally, because I was one of the top employees of the entire company I worked for, and I constantly broke the rule of chasing shoplifters. And eventually, once the higher-ups, learn that you're doing it, the managers are no longer going to cover you for doing so. But anyway, it doesn't matter how much of a good boy you are, how nice you are, whatever, or popular. Once someone knows what that person is doing and it's against the rules, then action is taken, because if it's not, then everyone trying to suppress or hide the fact that it's happening also goes down. So the manager is... They're not evil, they're not sadistic, they're not out here trying to torment a special needs 16-year-old. They are simply covering their own ass and doing exactly what they're indoctrinated and told to do. Now let's talk about the process of how it led up to this kid getting fired and also jailed. I think having the cops arrest the kid is a little crazy, but I'm going to explain why this happened. It's more office politics than anything. But what I can safely guess what happened here is that this kid got warned multiple times or hinted at multiple times that they shouldn't do this or they shouldn't do that. Having worked in retail 13 years, there was so many people that were like stealing things or doing things that they shouldn't do. And usually, because I worked my way up into management, and the way we do it is you let them know indiscreetly that they're doing the bad thing and not to do it. You also have a teaching moment. You're like, hey, back in the day, this guy got fired for doing this, and hey, make sure you're not also doing this. Am I right? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, elbow, elbow, right into the gut, just, right? So that they know that you're literally talking about it. But of course, this kid being special needs probably didn't pick up on the social cues that he's being watched, he's being monitored, that they know that he's doing it. Or if he's like anyone that's ever worked in retail ever, he didn't give a damn. He wants to get fired. and stealing the fruit cups is his out. Because when you're 16 and you get fired and you know your parents are going to get pissed off that you lost your job, and it's like, I don't want to work at the store. You know, I don't have any friends here. I'm not getting paid enough. I'd rather just play video games all day or whatever, even though there's no good games to play in this day and age. But the point is, as you can see because of the footage behind me, or in the video rather, not behind me physically, what I'm getting at is that this kid probably didn't want to work there, and he's like, I'm just going to keep eating the fruit cups. If they're not going to do anything about it, fuck them. Free fruit cups for me. And so he's like, if they fire me, good. Go ahead and fire me. I dare you to fire me, right? And that's the thing. Like, this kid's 16. He hasn't even been in retail that long. But I can tell you, you do like 13 years in retail, you're hoping, you're praying, you want a criminal to come up and try to rob you just so you can, you know, hopefully they just shoot you, right? And you're just like, yes, please pull the trigger, please, all right? And, well, in this case, it's getting fired, right? So if you're ever stuck in retail and you want out, the quickest, most painless, least, like, infringing way to get fired in retail ever is to just steal coupons. And what is that? That means whenever someone pays with coupons, you just keep the coupons and use them for yourself. And it's very easy to track. You can even talk about doing it. Like, yeah, man, this customer had these sweet coupons. It's like, they just gave them to you. It's like, oh, well, they paid with them, and then I used them. It's like, oh, you're not supposed to do that. Like, just doing it, like, one time is like, boom, you're fired, right? In every retail environment ever. But this kid, being special needs, you know, he doesn't have any experience. He doesn't have any, you know, mentors. He doesn't have any friends to tell him this thing. He's like, he's just going to steal the fruit cups. And if they don't do anything about it, it's a free meal. All right, so let's wrap this up. The bit where he gets arrested by the police. Now, people are okay and in the right to be a little bit pissed off, or actually a lot of pissed off about this part, because it is kind of a dick move, all right? I know I've been defending the company and the manager and the blah, 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 but this part's a little messed up. So a lot of these retail chains, they are controlled by, not the cartel, but the union, which might as well be a cartel of sorts, all right? And so the way it works is, you know, if someone is stealing fruit cups or whatever, and you have it on video and you have the evidence, most places will let you fire them immediately for that. However, this company may have a policy where it's like, well, is it an arrestable offense? If it's not, then you can't technically fire them unless they've done it 3 times within, you know, 1 month or some bull crap like that. And, you know, $110 worth of fruit cups over 2 months, to me, that sounds kind of cheap, because a pack of fruit cups is about $2 to $3, so that means it would be about 37 fruit cups at $3 each, okay? We'll just say 37 fruit cups. They're like a bundle, like a package of fruit cups. Like, so in 2 months' time, that would be 60 days, assuming this is a 16-year-old working part-time. He probably works 3 to 4 days a week. Maybe he works 5 days a week, 4 hours a day, right? The bare minimum, okay? And so, you know, that would be like a fruit cup every other shift. And the thing is, like, depending on the policies, the union, the blah, 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 they would have to bust him this many times within a 1 month period. Otherwise, it's just write-ups and paperwork. So they're like, okay, and this is most likely the loss prevention thing and not the manager's part, is a lot of stores, especially Target and many other retail chains, what they'll do is they will build a case on shoplifters. If someone shoplifts, they're like, okay, they shoplifted. Now we have it on file that they stole $50. All right, and then over the course of time, that $50 is now $200, then $400, then $1,000. And where I'm from, you have to steal $1,000 worth of merchandise. It's really $995, but it is what it is. And so if you steal the threshold, then now you have committed a felony. Now, I think this might have taken place in Michigan. I don't know exactly where it took place. That's just the home state of the grocery chain. But essentially, they waited until he broke the threshold and again, it's not entrapment. All these freaking comments are like, it's entrapment, it's entrapment. Entrapment is offering him the fruit cups and then be like, nuh-uh, you stole it. Nuh-uh. That would be entrapment. But that's not what happened, okay? What happened is they noticed him stealing the fruit cups, and they probably hinted that he shouldn't do it, but, you know, autists being autists don't pick up on the social cues. And so they probably warned him probably 2 to 3 times, like, hey, this one guy, he stole stuff and he's gone, bro. So make sure you don't do it, okay? And then pat him on the back. And, well, he kept doing it because he hates his job and he wants out and he doesn't want to work there, right? What 16-year-old does? Hell, I'm way past 16 and I don't want to work. But anyway, the point is that they were like, okay, he broke the threshold, and so in order to get him fired, he has to be arrested, and so they called the police. And here's the thing, like, I live in such a ghetto, and when I worked retail, we would call the police on people that legit would fill up a giant grocery cart full of all the things that you would use to make drugs and sell for drugs, thousands of dollars of stuff, and the cops would get angry at us because we're inconveniencing them from their day. It's like they're stealing thousands of dollars of stuff, just walking out the door with it. And like, it's up to y'all to hire security. Stop calling about this. It's like, okay, I mean, that's just being in the ghetto, right? And who knows if this kid worked in the ghetto? It doesn't really matter for this story. But the point is that they waited for him to break a threshold so that they could fire him. And you may be thinking, well, why would they want to fire him? Maybe he was a good employee. Maybe not, probably not. Let's just say probably not. Most of the time, the bad employees, I'm going to be real here, okay? And please don't get offended if you work in the deli. Most of the time, the weirdos, the liberals, and the shitty workers get thrown into the deli. Now, the deli is a step up. It's not the worst position in the store. All right, the worst position is the bagger or the cart getter, and which is also sometimes in some companies doubled as the janitor or Janny for short. And so you take your absolute, the laziest employees you got, the most unreliable, they're always late, you make them a bagger. Okay, those that kind of show up on time and they can kind of get some work done, but otherwise they're they're not quite up to par with the rest of the store. You throw them in deli. They come in with rainbow pink, neon teal hair. In the deli they go. All right, that's just how it is. And so at some point, maybe they hired someone, a little bit, most likely a jock, maybe someone who's a bit smarter and hardworking and reliable. And they're like, okay, we need to get this reliable guy more hours. How do we do that? Well, we have a guy in deli that's stealing a bunch and doesn't really do a good job, so time to get rid of him. On the chopping block he goes. And that's the world of retail. That's how it is. It's very cutthroat. I know a lot of people are very privileged, and they turn up their snouts. They turn up their noses. Oh, I'm too good to work at McDonald's. I'm too good to work in a grocery store, they say to themselves, as they were pampered their entire lives living in a gated community, going to nice fancy schools without gangs and drugs and guns and violence. But for everyone else that didn't get a lucky draw, lucky hand in life, they didn't suck off an angel to get born into privilege, right? For those of us that had to, be born in the trenches, in the depths, in the down low, in the ghetto, in the whatever you want to call it, okay? It's very cutthroat in these grocery stores. The clicks form. You got to hide your political alignment, your political likeness. You have to be a yes man to all the higher ups, and it could bite you in your ass 10 years later when that one guy you were kind of a dick to is now a manager, and he's in bed with all the other upper echelons of bosses, and now you're suddenly on the crap list, and then they're trying to replace you, and they're going to find any little thing they can do to get rid of you. And so this special needs kid probably liked Trump or something, and he didn't really think about what he was saying, and he upset someone who really wanted Hillary to win or whatever, or Biden, or whoever ran for president. I don't even know. But the point is that he upset somebody too much, they got rid of him. And maybe, like I said, he probably wanted to get out of there. So while it sucks he got arrested, I'm pretty sure $110 is a misdemeanor. So I don't think he did any hard time in the slammer, hooking up with some gang members or anything. He's not gonna go down a path of life of crime. The manager isn't really at fault. The loss prevention guy should take most of the blame, probably. But again, it's a mix of politics, of drama. Again, a grocery store is like a school. It's like a schoolyard. Okay, it's brutal out there. It's like you got to be the big dog. All right. But at the end of the day, the kid was probably happy he got fired. I'm going to guarantee you right now it's the best thing that could have happened to him, because working in a grocery store sucks. And every single person in the 13 years I worked in retail who all quit and went to work elsewhere, like at a Taco Bell or a McDonald's or anywhere that you think is worse than a grocery store, they were all way happier that it happened to them. They were all happy that they got fired, okay? And at the end of the day, if I never got fired, this YouTube channel would not have existed, because I would have been drinking the Kool-Aid and, being a smiling, happy wagey, where you have to, gather around and everyone does the wagey dance. You guys see that? Those clips where like all the McDonald's wagies are dancing. Yeah, I was in a store like that, and we had to dance every single morning and every single evening because it was to boost morale, dude, because corporate told us to. It's very soulless and demeaning, and it sucks, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody, okay? And so this kid is way better off not working there, and all these Karens hating on the manager. The manager's stuck there. They've dedicated their whole life. It's too late for them. They're stuck there. You don't need to bully the management, okay? And if you boycott a grocery store, no one's going to care. No one's going to... If 1,000 people... Okay, let's say 10,000 people boycotted any of the stores I ever worked at, you know what would happen? Nothing. All right? It would just make everyone's day that works there easier. There would be less stuff to stock. There would be less stress. It wouldn't hurt the store one bit, because the way these big, massive grocery chains work is they all feed off of each other. When one store is suffering and their sales are down, then they just raise prices elsewhere to make up for it. It's really that simple, and that is legit what they freaking do. That is not an opinion. That is a fact, all right? Anyway, that's the video. Thanks for listening. All right, I hope whatever game I have playing in the background here is interesting to you. And with that said, let me know what you think. Whose side are you on? And at the end of the day, not all of us get a choice of what we can work. If you don't have the capacity for education, you don't have any friends, connections, or luck in this world, you're stuck working retail or fast food. And those guys are my homies. If that's one of you, if that sounds like you, join the Discord, because I need fellow wagies just like me, just like you, to play video games with. And yeah, leave a comment. Click the video on the right side of your screen, and if you don't click it, you're going to get a urinary tract infection. It's going to happen.